Rock fans all around the world, welcome back to another MPJ Rock Album Review Show. Welcome to my panel, to Paul, to Dom, to Chris and to Trish. Welcome everybody.
Morning.
Oh, hi there.
Hi there. So we're missing Ian and Dave today, but we have their scores in, and today's a brilliant episode, which is going to be a real battle. Vaccines, and their new album, pick up a full of Pink Carnations against Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes and Dark Rainbow. So Frank Carter, we've been here before. Frank Carter didn't do so well, apart from me. I was the only one that loved their album Sticky, and nobody else really kind of liked it, but I did. They scored 2.2, and are currently in the lowly depths of their 260th album in our rating, with just over about 320 albums. So they didn't do so well with their album Sticky. Let's see, we're going to find out whether or not that's going to change with their Dark Rainbow album. And Vaccines, first time we've reviewed Vaccines, though we kind of been around, no introductions needed, but an indie kind of rock band. Frank Carter would be labelled as a kind of more punk rock kind of band. Sticky was definitely a punk rock band. So let's find out then. Vaccines, Dom, we're going to start with you. I heard of the Vaccines before, and what did you think of their album?
Yeah, well, it's their sixth album, I think. These kind of Brit, kind of new wave guitar pop. I don't know, more pop than rock, I would say. And I like the album, first of all. I mean, there's something really delightfully retro about it, I think. They sound and feel like, I don't know, they're coming somewhere from the 60s. That's kind of where it feels like to me. I know they're an amazing live act. I haven't seen them live, but I know that they're really good. And there's some great tracks on there. I thought, like, Sun-Kissed sounded a bit like the Beach Boys to me. And then I really love The Dreamer, Perfect, Discount de Kooning, which is a great track. In fact, it's kind of like one of those albums which is the kind of album you put on when you're on a road trip, or you're just chilling out, or you're having a barbecue. It's that kind of music. There's not really a Duff song on there. It's not really my thing as kind of style of music, but I appreciate it and had a good time listening to it. I don't think I can say much more than that, though.
Well, listen, talk about somebody who we'd have a good time listening to. Chris?
Sorry, did you just lie then?
Yeah, blatantly. Completely and utterly.
That's fair. So, as has often been the case, I'm polar opposite to Dom on this one. What a load of tosh. I mean, I wouldn't even put it in a rock podcast, having listened to the album. It is pop. It's pop at best. And I'm not a huge lover of pop music in the first place. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And in fact, I hated it more than Kings of Leon, and that really says something. Thank goodness it was short. Thanks for that. That was the only saving grace. I didn't have to sit through it for too long.
Oh, well...
Usually I'd like to say, this track was really standout, but I couldn't even find a standout track on it. None of them had any redeeming qualities whatsoever.
The Panther is back. Everybody, the Panther is back. Now, will Trish be the antidote? Will she be the vaccine to Chris's poison?
Oh, God. Okay. I've actually seen the Vaccines a couple of times at festivals, and they are always a feel-good... Shut up. They are always a feel-good crowd pleaser, so I was hoping this album was going to be as well. And I wasn't disappointed. With the upbeat Sometimes I Swear, I really enjoyed Heartbreak Kid, and it's the Vaccines at its best. A good anthem for sure, which will have the crowd jumping and party starting. I love the guitar on the start of Another Nightmare. It sort of reminds me very much of the Cure guitar sound. All in all, it's a good, solid, feel-good album doing exactly what it says on the tin and what the band's bread and butter sound is, and not to deviate from that. pleasing old and new fans alike.
Paul, Vaccines. What did you think? Would you say that this is an out-and-out pop album, or would you say it's more, pop rock, or?
I'd say it was indie rock, to be honest, with pop intentions.
Intentions, I like that. Pop intentions.
Yeah, Vaccines clearly wins the album title of the month. A pickup full of pink carnations, but it becomes less impressive when you learn that it's a line from Don McLean's American Pie. Nevertheless, 10 years on from the debut album, and with the original drummer and guitarist leaving the ranks, indie rock band Vaccines have kind of returned to their musical roots with their latest offerings. It's a deceptive album, an easy listen, upbeat music that makes time quickly pass by, as Dom has said on a long car drive. Paying attention to the lyrics, however, after repeated listens, reveals a much darker intent to the album, which is about growing older and conveying the troubles and pain that comes with it. Looking back at the past or looking to the future doesn't hold much relief. This contradiction between the lyrics and the music gives the album its strength. There's not a bad song here. However, there's not much that gels the whole thing together. It's like an album of singles. It all sounds too samey. Nevertheless, standout tracks for me were Lunar Eclipse, Sunkissed, Another Nightmare, and Heartbreak Kid.
What did I think? Polar opposites to Chris, and I'm along with Paul and Dom. I love this album. I think it's absolutely a fun album. And Paul's right, actually, when you start listening to it more and you listen to a bit of the lyrics, you go, oh, okay, the lyrics and the musicality are sometimes a little bit different in terms of polar opposites. So it's an album that it's a bit of an onion, I think, in terms of like its lyricism and musicality. It kind of peels away. Sometimes I swear Lunar Eclipse absolutely belters. I think Paul, and I don't tend to agree with Paul that often, but I think he's absolutely, what he said is spot on. I think it can be a little bit generic, which doesn't make it a perfect album, and you're right in terms of it sometimes doesn't quite gel, but fun album, really good, musically a fun album, absolutely lovely to listen to, easy listening, very repeatable. You can have this on loop and not get thoroughly bored with it. Good album, really good, really good. Thoroughly, really enjoyed it. So. Okay, Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes with Dark Rainbow. Chris, what did you think of Frank Carter? I can't remember if you actually rated it the last time. I don't think you did, actually. I can't remember if you were on that stage at the time. But what do you think of this? What do you think of Frank Carter and Rattlesnakes and Dark Rainbow?
Frank Carter is somewhat of the anomaly because although he does stuff with the Rattlesnakes, he's in several other bands, and so he's musically diverse on his own. That being said, it's very hard to compare any of his albums because no two albums sound the same. With this one, I was actually suitably impressed. It was quite pop punk, a lot more pop punk than the last album that I did listen to, and so it struck a bit more of a chord with me than the emo kind of stuff that he did before. It wasn't too strong an album for me, but it was strong enough that I went back and had a second listen. It's a bit like Marmite. It's something that once you've tasted it, you have to go back and taste it again to see if it really did taste like you just thought it did. So on the second listen, I don't know if I'd go back for a third listen, but it was palatable. It was fine enough.
Cool. So Trish, you hated Sticky. You absolutely hated it. You give it a 1.5 on the last time. So has this changed for you at all? So Frank Carter.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, from what I remember when we reviewed Frank Carter's last album, I was not a fan. But this album starts off promising with Honey, the opening track, which is followed by the melodic Man of the Hour. At each song not being more than 3 minutes long, apart from the ending track, it's a good bite-sized, not overwhelming in time album. I really like the track American Spirit. It's a real good grab you in the face rock tune. This really was a surprise of an album for me, considering my past review for me of Frank Carter and Rattlesnakes. This has definitely rattled my cage and recruited a new fan with this album. A definite keeper for me. Well done, Frank. This snake has shed her skin to be open to your music.
Oh, bring that home! Bring the analogy, bring that analogy home. That is just my heart. I just can't beat that. I can't beat that.
The other analogy is that you're slithery and cold-blooded. Just saying.
Well, actually, what you've done there is you've just stolen my words to pass on to Paul. Talking about slithery, and that would just come up and bite you. Paul, talking of snakes.
Well, obviously, Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes is a bittersweet moment for you, Nigel, because we talked to their manager because they were going to launch a board game, and we went through all the discussion and everything, and I just said, we've just done a podcast where we reviewed your album, and it was like, Nigel, seriously, it wasn't a good review.
I was the only one that loved it. I give it like a 3.5, and everybody else absolutely slated it. I go like, shit. Yeah.
Obviously, we never heard from Frank Carter as manager again after that.
We didn't. We lost that deal. There we go.
I may have changed that for you now.
However, Dark Rainbow is Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes' fifth album, and sees them build on the previous album, and it's a much more consistent and mature effort. Musically, they've drifted more into the mainstream realm of the likes of Arctic Monkeys that they held before their last two albums, and possibly Queens of the Stone Age at their finest. Dark Rainbow is a brooding alternate rock of an album, rather than punky, as Chris and others have said, with songs that slowly grow on you over the course of the several listens. I've always found Frank Carter to be previously capable of either being sublime or too far out there. This is not the case with Dark Rainbow, kicking off with Honey and Man of the Hour before Frank enters into swooner mode with Can I Take You Home. The pace is picked up again with American Spirit, Happier Days, and the sublime Brambles. Although Queen of Hearts and Sunbright Golden Happenings are fine songs, for me they're too slow and melancholy to have them back to back on this album. It's a bit of a turn off for me. Thankfully, the last three tracks finish off the album nicely. Favourites that hit my playlist were Brambles, Man of the Hour, Superstar, and Self Love. If I was a mainstream rock, alternate rock band, I would nervously be looking over my shoulder at what Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes are doing, as they're definitely standing out from this crowded market.
Talking about standing out from a crowded market, let's go to the very tall Dom. Dom, what did you think? Frank, have you heard of Frank Carter? Have you listened to him before?
Yeah. In fact, I'm a bit conflicted here. So, my favourite gig of all time was a Frank Carter gig. In the early days, in one of his early bands was Gallows, which were a hardcore punk band. And it was at the Wedgwood Rooms here in Southsea, and it was the most incredible gig I've ever been. I was both entertained and terrified in equal measures. And Frank Carter, at that time in his career, he was like channeling Johnny Rotten, like you would not believe. He was incredible. So this is like just so different. I haven't really kept up with Frank Carter's music. A little bit, I've heard bits of it, and he's like he's been in so many bands and done so many different projects that his music is just eclectic, really. So from real heavy hardcore to the Arctic Monkeys, isn't it really? I think Paul said it. I think there's definitely a whiff of the Arctic Monkeys about this the band now, and I think he's picked up something from him. Going from like cutting edge, very alternative or very heavy to kind of lounge lizard style kind of music, I would say. But I actually really like this album. I thought it was really good. It's got that angular, slightly alternative twist on it. It's punchy in the right places. It's and there's something kind of mature and intelligent about it. That's what I liked. It was kind of like Frank Carter from being this guy who was just leaping into the middle of the audience, who was singing half of his set from right in the centre of the Wedgwood Rooms, and crowd surfing all around the place and climbing up the walls to something mature and intelligent. Lots of variety in here as well. There's lots of kind of standout songs. Occasionally dips in energy, but I thought it was a good album. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I was when Frank Carter came up, I was going like, do I really want to go? Because if somebody's had a really bad album, I go, well, do we want to review again and kind of stick it to them again, type of thing. So, but there wasn't a huge amount out there, and so they kind of made the shortlist, and I was quite intrigued and going like, and equally with equal trepidation that this is going to be the same, and you lot would hate it. But I thought, well, you know what? I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the previous album, so what the hell? And I have to say, I was both surprised, shocked, and amazed at the difference in the style of that music, and it was so more up my street. I think it was brilliant. I think I love the variation. I love I can't disagree with everything that's been said. Dom, you're absolutely right. It's got energy in the right places. It is more towards Arctic Monkeys. Let's hope they don't continue down that Arctic Monkeys journey and end up where Arctic Monkeys currently are. Let's hope Arctic Monkeys come back. Cracking album. Absolutely cracking album. Poured brilliantly. Sometimes I Swear and Lunar Eclipse, my two favourite. Bizarrely, I was in the car with my daughter and she was saying, I love Brambles. I was like, well, you're not even listening to the album, but Brambles has been out there on the plays and stuff as well. What a cracking album. Really, what a really cracking album. And the only thing that lets it down is Paul's hit those two melancholy kind of tracks back to back kind of slowed the pace of the album down too much for me. And those two things I didn't really particularly enjoy in the album, but very easy listening, very repeatable. Great album. Great album. So thoroughly enjoyed. Right, okay, Vaccines versus Frank Carter. Let's get to the vote times. Will anybody get a bigger average of 4 if they get into the Hall of Fame? Let's find out. Paul, let's start with you then. The Vaccines, Paul. What did you give out of 5?
4.5.
4.5. Okay. And Frank Carter?
4.
4. Close battle, so one up to the Vaccines. Okay, we'll go to Dave. So we'll go down in the order I've got it here, so I can keep up with it. Dave gave the Vaccines a 3.5, and he gave Frank Carter a 2. What? So we're the Vaccines are 2 up at this minute in time. 2 up for the Vaccines. We'll go to Ian next. Ian give the Vaccines a 3.5. And he gives the Frank Carter a 2.5. What's going on, people? That's outrageous. So Vaccines are 3 up. Dom, Vaccines, Frank Carter. Vaccines, first of all.
Vaccines, I'm going to give 4.
And Frank Carter?
4.5.
4.5. Frank Carter bounces back. It's 3-1. 3-1. Chris, Vaccines?
0.5.
And Frank Carter?
3.5.
Oh, okay. So 3-2. Oh, it's getting all excited now. Trish, the Vaccines.
3.5.
3.5 for the Vaccines. Frank Carter.
4.5.
Whoa! What a battle we've got here. 4.5. Meaning it's 3 apiece. It's 3 all. Who will I decide who's going to win this battle of hands? I give the Vaccines a 4.5. I give Frank Carter a 4.5. Oh my God! It's a tie. It's 3 all unequal. So where where am I going to spend my money? Which album would I pick? It's great being the controller of this show, isn't it? I would spend my money on Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes without... I just think it's got a little bit more variety to it, but I both love both those albums. So, there we go. So, Frank Carter has won the battle of the bands. Only just, but... Now, let's get my trusty calculator, because it's 7 goddamn votes, so I'm going to add them all up, and let's find out would any of these albums hit the hallowed grounds of the Hall of Fame. So 4 points. So Vaccines 4.5. 3.5.
If Vaccines make the Hall of Fame, I'm never ever coming back. Ever.
I don't think they're going to hit the Hall of Fame, Chris, with your score. Your score is going to ruin any chance of them getting into the Hall of Fame, I think.
And that's such a shame.
No, you're right, Chris. 3.4. 3.4 for the Vaccines. That's still a really good score. Now then, what about Frank Carter? Will I mean, obviously they're going to beat the score that they got with Sticky. Well, they got that. So we're looking at 4.5. Another 4.5. That's a solid start, wasn't it? And then Paul's giving them a 4. And Dave will give it a 2, and of course I forgot about Ian and Don and their scores, so that's absolutely shocking, really. However, Revived were Dom and a solid score from Chris, and they scored 3.6. 3.6, so don't quite get into the Hall of Fame, but it's better than a 2.2. I think they get an album that could be well into the top 100. So that's definitely revival. Well done to Frank Carter. Well done to Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes for winning this particular battle. But well done to both bands. If Chris had been a little bit more, generous with his pop stuff, who knows? Vaccines might have done it. But there we go. So well done to Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes. Well done to Vaccines. Both really good albums. Really enjoyable. Thank you very much to my panel, to Dom, to Paul, to Trish, and to Chris. Thank you to Ian and Dave. And goodbye, good luck, and keep on rocking out there. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.